So you're in the market to buy a house, you've been considering hiring a buyer's agent, but there's one question that remains, and that is who pays the buyer's agent and how does the buyer's agent get paid? Stick around, we're gonna get into this question today. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. It is your realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty here in Central Maine. Now today we're doing a short video to cover the who pays the buyer's agent in a real estate transaction, how does the buyer's agent get paid? This is a question that comes up all the time. It is probably one of the most frequently asked questions that I go through with buyer clients, and I'm sure every other real estate agent that works with buyers in the area is getting the same question. So we're gonna answer that today. Now, before I get into that, I do want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we do welcome you here. We cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly in the Central Maine market. If that is of interest to you and adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, or if you just like real estate, please go ahead and do me a favor. Hit the like button on this video, hit the subscribe button, knock that little alarm bell, you'll be notified every time I put out new content. All right, so we're gonna jump right in here. And the first things first is you wanna know whether you are a customer or a client. Typically in a real estate transaction, if you're going to be doing more than one showing, once you kind of move beyond that phase, you're gonna continue to work with a specific realtor to help you find the home that you're looking for. You're going to become a client. Now I have covered on this channel before, if you look back, the difference between a client and a customer, but you're now ready to sign up. You're signing what's called an exclusive buyer representation agreement. And on the agreement, it states that you will pay or cause to be paid a certain percentage of the transaction that you're involved with so that the buyer's agent get paid. Now, a lot of people think right out of the gate that this means that you are upfronting the cash to pay that 3 or 2% or whatever it is commission to the buyer's agent. Now, I do want to state up front that most of the time you're going to see probably the most common percentage that a buyer's agent is going to work for is 3% of the sales transaction. Not in every case. Some people might charge 2.5%, some people might charge 2%. It just depends. But I think that most people who are out there putting the time in to work with a buyer and really provide top-notch service are probably going to be likely signing a contract with you for 3%. But do you have to put that cash up front, or is that coming out of your pocket at the end? Most likely not, and let's talk about why. When the seller of a home signs a listing agreement with the listing agent, there's already an agreement in place between the listing agent and the client of how much that listing agent is going to charge for the commission on the sale. Now, oftentimes, probably the most common commission you might see is 6%. Again, sometimes you might see 5%, or very rarely, if you have a discount brokerage that doesn't really provide much service, might be a little bit less. But by and large, we're gonna say for our market in a general price range, you're gonna see a 6% commission charged on that. And what happens to that 6%? Well, and again, we're just using 6% as an example. That's not what every contract is, because every contract really could be unique. So the seller has signed an agreement with the listing agent for, we're gonna say again, for examples purposes, 6%. Now, on the sale of that property, typically what's going to happen is 3% of that is going to go to the sell side, and 3% is gonna go to the buyer's side. And so both commissions are really getting paid through the sale of the home. Now, I do want to dig a little bit here, because the reality is you are somewhat paying as the buyer this commission indirectly. And why do I say indirectly? Well, because if, let's say you buy a house for, $200,000 and the commission on that's $12,000, well, you are the one that's putting your $200,000 towards the home. That's the sale price of the home. So indirectly, you're paying that sale commission, but ultimately the way it's typically looked at is that's coming out of the seller's proceeds, and then it gets split between the two agents, the buyer and the seller. Now, of course, most case scenarios, once it gets split between the buyer and the seller, part of that is going to go to each respective brokerage that those agents are working with and through, and then what's left over minus any expenses that the agent has had, whether it's in the sale side or if it's on the buy side of the transaction, that remaining a bit is going to go towards the agent that's working with you. So typically that's how it'll work, and that's what you're going to see in your contracts. Now, there is a caveat here, because something that we're seeing in the market quite a bit is there are those agents out there and there are those brokerages out there that are not going to split that commission maybe 3% and 3%. Maybe they charge 5% and the selling agent is going to keep 3% and only offer 2% to the buyer's agent. Now, typically as a buyer's agent, let's say I work for 3% and let's say the seller is only going to give 2.5% for some reason instead of the 3%, that little bit difference would be something that you're responsible for. So why is that? Well, it's really no different than, let's say, an attorney who states their fees up front for what their time is worth, or a doctor that puts their fees up front telling you what their time is worth. The same goes for a really good real estate agent. And I will say that, here at EXP, one of the things that I try to do is provide you, the buyer, with the absolute highest level of service possible. And this is a business where I can say, oftentimes you get what you pay for. So most buyer's agents are out there, they're working really hard on the buy side. They sold you a lot of houses, they might have written multiple offers, they've gotten lots of research done for you, hopefully, and answered all of your questions. So when you get to the closing table, that money is gonna be money well spent. Because I can tell you that getting subpar service from a real estate agent probably is going to cost you more in the long run on that house than paying that little bit of difference. But by and large, like I can tell you, here in Central Maine, most brokers and agencies and agents all work really well together and are going to do that 50-50 share. But that's not always the case. It just depends on what is listed on the listing. When you look at the MLS, it'll state in there what that agent or agency is willing to pay the buyer's agent. So there it is, folks. Hopefully that made it really easy for you. Again, by and large, you as the buyer are not at least directly going to ever have to front any cash to pay for the commission of your buyer agent and for the money that they've earned in the transaction, but you do want to know the terms of your contract. Again, typically you're probably going to see that you're in a contract for about 3% for those buyer services, and you'll want to know when you're looking at homes and you're making the offers on the homes, what that other agent, the listing agent, has agreed to pay your agent to find out if you might be responsible for a little bit of the difference there. So that's it, guys. That's really it. If you ever have been in a situation like this, if you've been the buyer of a home, or frankly, if you've been the seller of a home, were you aware of any of this? Are you understanding now how this works out? Have you as a buyer ever had to pay that difference, or has it always been a 50-50 split for you? Go ahead and drop a comment below. I always like to see what people's experience is, or if you have any questions, drop those below too, and I'm happy to engage with you there. Again, guys, my name is Nick Isgro. I'm with eXp Realty here in Central Maine. I appreciate, as always, you sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you found some value in here that makes your process in the market a little bit easier and makes you a little bit wiser so you can make the right decision for you and for your family. All right, guys, that's it for today. Until next time, I'll see you when I see you.